Hello everyone, welcome all students recently admitted to programs offered by the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Linköping University. My name is Henrik Nehler and I serve as Pro-Dean at the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. The first part of this webinar will be a conversation between us, and it will be recorded and will be available in a few days online. The second part will be a Q&A, questions from you guys, and it will not be recorded. So I think we start and jump right into it. As I said before, my name is Henrik Nehler, but much more important, who are you guys? Should we start here? In the middle. Hello.
Yeah, I'm Emma. I'm an international student coming from Portugal, and I'm studying Ethnics and Migration Studies in Norrköping campus. Yes.
My name is Idris Smith. I'm from the United States. I am studying Ethics, Science, and Policy at the Campus Vala here in Linköping.
Thank you. Very interesting. So can you tell us a little bit about your programs, how it's structured? Should we start with Emma?
Yeah, of course. We have a 2-year master program. The first year we have regular courses and classes. The second year it's a little bit more tricky because we can have more options of what we want to do. Of course, there's the master thesis, but then we also have options of internships, of going abroad, and of elective courses.
Yeah. My program has a very similar course. It's 120 credits. The final semester is 30 credits, just thesis. That's where I am now. During the third semester, so the second fall, you have the option of doing an internship or studying abroad. And the internship is a flexible, so you can either take like 10 weeks on internship and then 10 weeks classes, or 5 weeks internship, 15 weeks classes. It's very flexible on what you want to do.
Sounds like a very interesting program. So you're a first-year student, you're a second-year student?
Second year.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about a typical week in the master's program. How is it structured, and how is a typical week in your program?
Of course, it depends from teacher to teacher and from course to course, as every course will do. But it's a mixture of lectures and seminars, and the main difference is seminars you have more preparation to them, and lectures is more the teacher talking. Mm-hmm. And then in my specific master, we also have sometimes movies, more interactive dynamics, and with discussions following, of course, and sometimes field trips as well.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the field trips and the movies? It sounds very exciting.
Yes, of course. We just recently went to Stockholm, and it was a course related with arts and migration. Mm-hmm. So we went to museums and saw how different museum archivations and museum exhibitions deal with art and racism in the arts and all of this.
Wow. Yes. And in your program, Idris?
So my program is much more boring. No field trips or movies part of the curriculum. But we do mostly lectures and seminars as well. It's about it's either 3 lectures a week and a seminar, or sometimes it's 2 lectures and a seminar. She said, seminars are usually, you have a lot more preparation to do for them. And they're usually more student led. So it's much more like discussion based, and the teacher's really just there to prompt you.
Do you need to prepare stuff?
Usually
seminars?
There's a preparation assignment to do. There's usually about 3 to 4 hours of reading per lecture/seminar. Mm-hmm. But for the seminars, it's usually maybe like an extra hour, and then you also have to write maybe 1,000 words on a certain topic, and then you come in, discuss kind of what you wrote for preparation, but also it goes off on tangents. It's very free.
Very good information. So let's talk about time management. How do you work around that as a student here at Linköping University at the Faculty of Arts and Science?
Of course, very different from a bachelor's. The master's, you have to have in mind that you have to prepare more, and meaning that you might see just 2 lectures and 1 seminar in that week, but that does not mean that you're only going to have that moment of learning. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to take a lot into your free time, of course, and the preparation takes way longer than it would be for classes during your bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a lot more reading beforehand of classes, and you have to kind of manage your time well, because it's easy to think like, it's a lecture. And since lectures most lectures do not have assignments, you're like, I won't do the reading.
But then it all comes together.
It's so much better. Like the lectures I went to without doing the reading were not as nearly as fun or as insightful as when I do the reading. So you have to make sure that you kind of stay on top of it and kind of set boundaries for yourself. For my time management, it's hard for me to study in my room, so I make sure to like get out of my environment. The student who sits, the library here is very good for that. There's a lot of places to sit and just read.
And also you can find help with your friends, organize like study groups to prepare for the seminars or for the lectures, so you're not alone when you're going into this, like getting into heavy reading and heavy preparation for these classes.
But I think that's a very good tips here, that you're actually studying together with your fellow student friends. I think that's a very good tip. But you're studying mostly in Norrköping, your programs. How is it? Is it easy to find places to study together with your between classes and lectures?
It's very easy. We have always access to book rooms in all the buildings on the Norrköping campus. So what we sometimes do is the previous day we organize ourselves and we book the room for the next day. And then we show up and we study all day or part of the day. Of course, you can also go to the library and there are also open spaces for you to study. Usually those are a little bit more noisy, but you also have the option of the library or a closed room.
Sounds very nice. Your program is mostly in Linköping. You mentioned the student house. Can you tell us a little bit about the student house? Because I think it's a quite nice building.
It's a quite nice building inside. It's a lot of open space for students to study. It's the central library, so when you're looking for books for courses, that's another place you can go. And it's a very busy place on campus. I mean, there's always people there no matter what time of day. Even I've gone on like Saturday at like 8 p.m. and there's still some students in there. But it's also can be hard to find like a place for groups to study. So like when I study with groups of friends, a lot of times we'll either like book a room outside of student who study. The booking rooms is very nice, actually. It's something I've been using a lot recently with my thesis. Is you can book a room pretty much anywhere on campus. It's very nice. So you can get a quiet area to study because the student who can be kind of loud with all the people, and it can be sometimes distracting. But it's nice.
Great. You talked about seminars, and you talked about lectures, and you also hand in some assignments and reports. So what the teachers here at Linköping University, the Faculty of Arts and Science, what do they expect from you as students?
First of all, I would say every teacher expects you to show up to all lectures and seminars. And then especially for seminars, they expect you to come prepared because, as you said, it's mostly student-led. So you're supposed to bring topics for discussion because if you don't have them, then no discussion can go forward. And the role of the teacher is simply to be there as a moderator or maybe as like giving more points of discussion. So always be prepared. That's what it is expected of you. If it's a lecture, of course, not with the same intensity, but if it's a seminar, you should go to the seminars with the readings done. Yes.
Yeah. I'd agree. Just like getting the readings done, making sure you show up. If there's a preparatory assignment, it has to be done because it's the point of the preparatory assignment is to prepare you for the conversation. And I think it's about, like I said earlier, it's about like 4-ish hours of reading per lecture. Depends on the class, of course, and what topic. But they expect you to do a lot of reading beforehand because you don't get the full value of the lectures if you don't do it beforehand.
And also participate, I guess, in the seminars.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course.
Actively engaging with your other students.
And I guess also at the advanced level or master level that you're actually co-producers of knowledge. So it's very important, as you said before, to discuss beforehand with your fellow students to really do great seminars and push the frontier of knowledge even further in some sense. Yeah.
They can be very valuable. I think a lot of the seminar conversations I've had have helped me with my thesis. So
great.
You never know when that information is going to be helpful.
Some teachers even organize for you to discuss in groups before the seminar as preparatory assignments, let's say. You first discuss in groups, so when you go to the big group, then you have even more points and more ideas that you can bring forward.
Great.
And the seminars can take a lot of different forms. Like I've had one where it's kind of a mock model UN a little bit, or mock model. It's like a model UN a little bit where we discuss like policy, like what are our policy incentives as this country versus this country. Like we're same side of the issue, but like how it's viewed. And then we basically argued against each other, trying to say like, how can we find common ground like we have the same, like, okay, we don't have the same education, but we're coming from the same course. And even though we just put ourselves in these fake mindsets, you can see how hard it is can find like policy decisions. So there's a lot of different ways to prepare for assignments, I guess.
Sounds like a real strength of our international master program as well, to have these different perspectives in the classroom on all questions and all subjects in some sense. You talked about the week, a typical week, and time management. And as I understand you, it seems to be a lot more reading now compared to your bachelor studies, and reading beforehand. And you also have a lot less lectures in some sense, but a lot more expectations on you in some sense. Can you tell us a little about the literature? What type of literature is it that you're supposed to read, and how much are you supposed to read?
First of all, don't get scared. It's like manageable at the beginning. Can be a little bit tricky to get on top of everything that you have to read, but then it gets better with like the time going by. Usually you can find everything. It's very accessible either by the library, or if it's not accessible by the library, the teachers will give you all the material that you need to prepare. Yes, it's very diverse, at least in my course. It's pretty diverse literature, ranging from novels to academic articles to sometimes movies or documentaries. It is very broad, so it's for everyone's taste, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah. Ours is not as broad. Ethics, science, and policy. It's a lot of like you read policy papers, a lot of different like ethical books. A general structure I've noticed is there's like one large overarching book that we'll read. It'll be maybe like 400 pages, so it's not a crazy amount of reading. And we'll read sections of it throughout the course and read accompanying papers that relate to the specific section. So a little bit of a deep dive on each section from the book. So it's a lot of just papers and philosophy texts. And sometimes like policy work or like statistics to go along with.
So in your courses, it probably varies during the program, but what type of examinations do you have? And you had said before that you quite often hand in assignments and reports, but what type of examinations do you have during your program so far?
We've something that we didn't talk about, but maybe it's important. It's 4 weeks of classes and then 1 week of writing week or examination week, and that week can vary a lot. You can have I don't know how you'd say, but like you go into a room and you do an actual exam, a written exam, but most of them are essays that you have that week to write, and then you deliver them to your teacher. And yes, they're usually very free, but within the ranging objectives of the course that you're taking. Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree. Sometimes there's group exams, or so you'll write an essay as like a collaborative project with some of your course mates. Those can be fun but challenging. But mostly it's individual essays that are written during the the last half of the program. I think we've only had a couple in-person written exams. Made me feel like I was in high school again.
Then you can have a little bit of group projects and all of that, but they're mostly a pass or fail, and then the last one actually gets a grade.
Yeah, it gets a full grade.
More written examinations home rather than
in class.
In class, okay.
Yes.
Great. In the beginning, you talked about the structured program. You mentioned quite briefly about studying abroad, opportunities to study abroad, opportunities of internship. Are there any electives in the program? And what type of opportunities do you have in your program? We can start with your program.
I've been letting you answer first. So for my program,
and which semester?
Which semester? Yeah. So for the third semester in my program, you have the option of doing either an internship or studying abroad or studying here.
Wow.
For studying abroad, it's like the full semester. You're gone for the full 20 weeks. But for the internship, it's like it's variable depending on how long you have a partnership with this university or company that you're doing it with. So you can take 5 weeks internship, 15 weeks classes, 10 weeks, 10 weeks, or however the mix is. As for electives, I don't believe we have an electives offer within the program itself. All your courses are like prescribed, like you're going to take these certain classes. But you do have the option to apply to outside. Like I've applied to outside courses at Linköping while I've studied here, because there's some programs that are just classes that are in English that might be interesting.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of first years are taking that opportunity to do. So I actually have some friends.
Yeah, I'm not I haven't been through the third semester yet, but I also know people who have done other electives within Linköping University, even in different campuses. You also have the option to do the second year, all of it abroad, in like a double degree program with other universities that also have research centers for migration, and they're part of like this big network, and you can do the whole year, and then you write your master's thesis in the home university. And you also have the option to do an internship either in Sweden or abroad. A lot of students choose to do it abroad and then integrate it with like their master thesis. So use it as like research or field work for their master thesis as well. Yeah, so you have a lot of room to choose according to what you like more.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. What are you planning to do?
I'm doing the second year abroad. Yeah,
wow.
I'm going to Belgium for the double degree option. Yes.
Wow. That sounds very, very cool. Yeah. I think most master programs at Linköping University and Faculty of Arts and Science actually had the possibility to study abroad. Not all, but most. And we also have a lot of agreements with a lot of partner universities all around the world, actually. Faculty-wide agreements. So there is quite good potential actually to get the position to study abroad at our master program, even though we already, most of you, are abroad in some sense, coming to Sweden. So I think that's nice. Yes. So when you came to Linköping for the first time, was there anything you wish you knew before you actually starting here? There was, I should have known that.
I can start again. So I come from Los Angeles, so a very warm area. A big thing is if you come from like a warm area of the world is to prepare for Swedish winters. It's not, I thought I knew what winter was. I thought winter was my favorite season. But the winters here, they're very beautiful, but it's very cold and it's very dark. You need to like vitamin D, a lot of warm clothing. That's one thing I wish I knew. Another one is the value of just getting outside. I spend a lot of time indoors. Philosophy major, I do a lot of reading just for fun and for class. And so if you do it in your room all the time, it can get very hard. So it's important to remember to get out there and enjoy anything outside, really. Like just go get a coffee with friends. It's really important, especially during the winter months.
Have you experienced a student life?
I'm actually a part of some of the student organization. I'm part of the Erasmus student organization here in Linköping. It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of the international students. A lot of other master's program students are also involved because we're international students, but there's not really a section for us in the same way there is like sections for like a lot of the Swedish students doing bachelor's programs here. And there's always like, they do board game nights, they host their own parties. It can be a lot of fun. You can meet a lot of really great people that way. And you get friends all over the world. So it's nice.
Great.
I would say the same. Like everyone talks about the Nordics being harsh on winter, but no one actually is prepared to what that means. So especially the lack of lights. But then you, as you said, you have to find plans to do outside of the house, even if it's studying. Instead of choosing to study inside, just go and see people. That's really important. Take a 5-minute walk to somewhere and like just enjoy the few minutes of light that you see that day. And also about like sections and everything, you'll find your way around either with ESN or, for example, in our masters this year we created a own section for the masters because we didn't have it and there were no international students represented in any section, so we created it. So you also have that space to create something for yourself. And take the opportunity of winter and cold days to do it.
Great tips. But the lack of sun, and prepare for it in some sense. Huh?
Yeah. Yes, vitamin D.
Yeah. But now, from now on, it will be very bright. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Has anyone discussed or talked about PhD study positions or in your programs so far, or have you mentioned that?
I have discussed with my program advisor about PhD positions. So in my ecos, where I'm study, they hire like
That's the department.
the department I'm part of. Yes, the department I'm part of. They study or like they hire like batches. So when they have the funding, they can open it up to hire new people. So they hired a couple people a few years ago, or like last year, and they're gonna open probably in the next couple years. But they do like prepare you for if you want to go into PhD studies. I've been talking with my advisor about like how that looks, like the application process.
We have the same at Remesso, like our research center, and a lot of our all of our teachers are part of the research center, and I have some friends that right now are applying for the PhD positions as they are writing for their masters, and they usually use what they're writing currently to apply for the PhD position as well. But it's something that they will talk about during the master itself. Yeah.
Thank you. I think you described the process very well, but I think also it's very important for you to know that our international master programs are very important for our PhD positions in the future. And my home department and my home division is business administration, and I have actually a lot of colleagues that are former alumni from our international master program from Tunisia and Germany and France that are now assistant and actually associate professors and teaching in the program. So they're, so you are very important for the future as well. So do you have any final tips for our admitted students?
Would you like to go first on this one?
Maybe. Don't get overwhelmed in the beginning. Like when you get your course readings and everything, you'll get the hang of it. Don't stress. The first 2 weeks are a little bit complicated to feel like you have too little time, too much to read, and it will get better. And also with your English, maybe like we have different experiences because you're a native speaker and I'm not, but these are international masters, so everyone has different proficiency levels, and you'll be able to communicate, and no one is expecting you to be proficient in English. Yes.
Yeah. Nobody's expecting the C2 level of English. And there's a lot of academic English support. I know I have some friends in the program that have reached out for that. For me, some final tips, piggybacking off what you said, make sure that you stay ahead of the readings. There's a lot of really interesting stuff, but if you fall behind, it can get very overwhelming. But if you just kind of keep up the pace, you kind of get a lot out of the program. You get so much more than the courses that I've fallen behind on reading on. And make sure to enjoy the spring and the fall here. It's very beautiful, and it's a wonderful place to be during those months, really.
Yeah. Not winter, but spring and fall.
Great final words, I think. Thank you so much, Idris and Emma. Great tips and great discussions and conversation here about Linköping and the programs at the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope, we all hope actually, that we see you, all of you, here in autumn, in August. Because it's fun to study at master level and fun to be in Linköping in Sweden, even though it's dark sometimes. So very, very warm welcome. I think this first part is now ending the conversation, and we will now start the Q&A part of this webinar.